I'm a grief specialist and I work at Tamarack Grief Resource Center. Some of you may be familiar with Tamarack. And so I'm going to start really briefly with just a little bit about what Tamarack is as the handouts are getting passed. I know we want to get really to the meat of why I'm here. But Tamarack Grief Resource Center was founded by Dr. Tina Barrett. She is, if you don't know Tina Barrett, and I hope one day you will have the opportunity, one of the most amazing human beings on the face of this planet. She has helped foster and grow a grief resource center here in Montana that is unequaled in the United States. Tina has been, in the last few years, asked to speak at national conferences very regularly. And her area of expertise is in grief and loss and helping families, individuals, and especially children as they navigate grief. I think the crowning jewel of Tamarack, which some of you might have had kids come to our Camp to Remember every summer. And this is a really great place for kids. We love to have them. It's an overnight camp. And if they're too little for that, we have some day camps. And sometimes our overnight campers like to come to day camps too. And then for you as adults, we have also adult camps throughout the year. So I just wanted to mention that Tamarack also offers some grief and counseling and consultation, as well as emergency response to grief and loss, and educational events like this. And so wanting to recognize that although our area is in grief and loss, it's not always specific to loss by death or by losing someone. That way, sometimes loss is non-death loss and comes along with having big transitions. And I think as humans, we are all affected by loss, death loss, and also by non-death loss. But for you tonight specifically, how can we help kids, littles, and you and your family come together in the holidays during a time of transition and grief due to non-death loss? So the pamphlet that you have in front of you, we're going to cover it. But before we get into it too much, I want to say that this is the exact same pamphlet that we use during the holidays at workshops and communities for people who are experiencing grief and loss. And we left it in this way because basically everything that we're going to talk about, all of it can be applied to loss of any kind. Okay? So I always like to start like with a centering question. And so as Laura and I were talking on the phone this morning, we sort of formulated our centering question. And so I invite you to think about this for a moment, and then I'm going to ask for some responses. Okay? So for you, what would be the ideal Christmas? The perfect Christmas? Just be thinking about maybe the context, where, who, what you might eat, time of day, which day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. And then as any of you are coming to some of those thoughts, I'm going to just ask if you would mind sharing what your perfect Christmas would look like. Anyone? Yes.
We'd be in a snowy cabin in the woods, and the whole family would be there. Nobody would talk about politics.
Yeah.
Play board games and sing songs and just be together.
Okay, together in cabin.
Right.
No politics.
Right.
How about you?
Yeah. We'd all be at my parents' house, and my stepdad would make a really good breakfast.
Okay.
Like tons of the whole spread. That was the main meal, Christmas breakfast. We'd stay around in our pajamas and just talk around the couch after we finished eating. And maybe snow outside.
Right, we see snow and a delicious breakfast. prepared for the whole family. And lots of jammies.
Yeah.
Anyone else like to share what Christmas, the perfect Christmas might look like? Yes.
Perfect Christmas for me is my family and lots of children.
Lots of children, okay? So for you, it's like the whole family and as many littles as you can get.
Many kids, yeah.
I get pretty
That's what makes
good.
Christmas in my house.
Kids make
Kids.
Christmas. Yeah. That's nice. I like that too. Anyone else want to share what the perfect Christmas would look like? Okay. So we have 3 samples of Christmas. And as you think about it, there are maybe some diversity, right? One's up in the cabin, one's at home with the family. One is context, just lots of kids. And so as we think about this, when we think about the holidays and coming together as a family, we want to be mindful that not all of us have the same idea of what the perfect Christmas would be. And so I'm saying Christmas a lot, but I think you guys can hear me saying Easter, Thanksgiving, birthdays, right? That all of us have our own ideal in mind. And so as you guys are doing the most wonderful and rich caring work that you're doing to take care of littles, how might Christmas look different in their eyes versus your eyes, right? Because your family has been doing your thing, like that thing that we do every year, for a long time, and you already know what that all is, right? And even the littles of the family know what that is because they were there. So one of the things as we enter into this conversation, I want to be helping all of us to be ever mindful is how can we take what is meaningful to all family members, regardless of background. Okay? Does that sound like a good context? Okay. So one of the things that I'm going to step out of my tamarack and just talk real to you for a second. I think everybody in town, we should print this on the front of the Missoulian. Okay? Because regardless of what is happening in our lives, Christmas, holidays, all of that can get really, really hectic for a myriad of reasons. So all of these things can be applied to help you through the holidays regardless of what's going on. Okay? Just saying that. And now we have special circumstances, so they become even more important. Okay? So how can we help ourselves through this season and explore short and long-term priorities and gradually learn to make the holidays meaningful? Okay? So we just have some tips here. So the first one is maybe clarify what our priorities are. So as we come together as a family, or any and every Christmas, what are the priorities for us? If we're stressed and strained and we're having difficulty, getting through the things that we think we have to do, it's nice to be able to give yourself some permission to just step back and be like, what is the priority? And is it that I have to do everything that's on the list, right? Because that's that thing that we do. So when you're stressed and strained, it's awesome to give yourself the opportunity to just look back and say, inventory my holiday preparation. What is important to me? What's not necessary? How do we eliminate unnecessary pressures on ourselves and others? And how do we shift our focus to what's really important for our family? When I think about this, I think in traditional families, I'm thinking traditional families, and I think you guys might too, when you drum up this image of what's mom doing the first few days, the days as we enter Christmas and the holidays, right? In traditional families, the mom kind of carries all the responsibility in the heart, right? And I don't know, is the image of something like what you guys are drawing? At all? Or is that just me? No? We can get that image, right? So how is it as a supportive family members that we can help mom not get in that place? And mom, you're here. How can you allow yourself to kind of enter the holidays with your knees bent? Where you can be kind of flexible. and take it as it comes. And prioritize. Because maybe some of that stuff you can let go. And it might be okay. Resist overextending and overcommitting. Let's be realistic about things that we can and can't do, and avoid that self-blaming, like you shouldn't be able to do all of this, right? And some of you are in families in transition where everything is kind of like, we don't know what we're going to do from day to day. Sometimes from hour to hour, we're not really sure how things are going to go. So if there's any a better time to learn how to build in some flexibility, this is the perfect time. Inventory our holiday traditions. Do you have family traditions? Is it important to carry them out in this year, or is it a good time to begin new ones? Reevaluate, consider, and discuss ways of keeping traditions you find meaningful in ways that may alleviate some pain. So when I think about this one, I think often about communication. When we have family members, some that have been doing this for a while and they know this is that thing that we do, right? And then we have new family members that are clueless. There's never a better time to really communicate with each other about how do you want to do Christmas. And again, you're hearing Easter, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. Where you can consult with one another and be like, how do we want to do this? You know, what will work for us? And sometimes the littles, and you guys know this, if you give them like 2 or 3 choices, you guys might have some ideas of what some good options might be and like the crazy stuff that a 5-year-old's going to ask for. But how can you maybe give them some choices and invite them into the conversation about how would you like it to look? Or what was Christmas like at your house? Tell me about what it was like. Because we want to do some of that here, if we can, and incorporate it together. And then maybe also come up with just maybe some new rituals. Okay? Speaking of littles, which we're going to try to keep concentrating on, one of the best stories or things that I saw happen with littles at Christmas is to have them come with you together and talk about maybe what they would like to do in remembrance of their family. So whether or not they're in contact with their parents or they've had the loss of a loved one, how is it that they would like to remember? And sometimes by putting together little small rituals, whether taking out a journal and writing a letter, maybe writing a letter each day, or something like that to their person, gives them the opportunity to have what we call, and it's so very important, to maintain connection. Because when we can maintain connection, then the loss doesn't feel as heavy. I'm talking a lot. A nod or two, is this on the right track? Yeah? Am I? Okay. Just wanting to make sure, like, no, Kim, we were really thinking something else. I'd like to just pause here briefly then and just say, does anybody have any questions so far about what I've said, or maybe thought, I'd like to know more about X or Y, whether or not I've said it. I just want to pause here and give you the opportunity to talk to me so that I don't just talk and run past things you might want to know or think about. Anyone? Okay. I'll keep going, but feel free to interrupt me. Focus on what is most helpful and most meaningful. So give yourself some permission to create meaning in any way. This can be a really good time for our family. Like, what do we want to do differently? Just last night I was talking to a mom and daughter pair. The daughter's an adult, and they recently had a close loss in their family. And so we were talking about like this one right here. What can we do in a new and meaningful way? And for them, they're starting a new tradition this year. They're going to go cross-country skiing instead of that thing that we do. And they're both really looking forward to it. And so it may not be that it has to replace the holiday or something like that, but look What can you guys do together as a family that might be really fun and meaningful? Let's see. Give special consideration to activities that are significant. So based on whatever maybe religious or other holiday traditions that the people in your family that are joining your family might have had, just kind of checking in with them if they can, tell you what is traditionally, what they'd like to do, and then including that. But I also want to say that it's also very important to not replace those things, that thing that you do every year that is traditional in your family. So this isn't saying like change based on everything. It just means like how can we incorporate? Still hold those foundations and things that are very special to you if that's what works, but not thinking that you have to forego the whole thing, right? Just sort of adding it. I would also say that during the holidays, some of the littlest, there's something about, even if they can't tell you, there's something about the holidays that is special and unique in all of our lives. So even without putting words to it, children may, and you guys know this better than I, so I'm just going to say that. You know that children came from homes that were probably not so awesome, right? But very likely, during holiday time, might be some of the best of times. And maybe some of the worst of times. So there's something unique about what's happening during the holidays that makes memories. And so, even if they can't tell you, it could be that they're reacting, you might see some reaction to the holiday time just because of memories. Might have been some of the happiest memories that they have or some experiences that they have. And so don't be surprised if, I don't know, what do you guys call them? Meltdowns? Somebody called it something different the other day. Is there a new word out for meltdown? Or does that still work? Okay. Somebody used a new word on me the other day. I should have checked in on that. Anyhow. Meltdowns might increase and are very likely to increase. And two, it could be that you might be with a child, or a child might be with you, or you're with a child. You guys might be with a child who has come from, like, their holiday tradition only had 4 or 5 people there. And you guys have, like, 45 people there, right? So how is it that we can help this little come into this big, gigantic room of strangers and do it in a way that helps them feel safe and secure? So just thinking of that. Or maybe they came from a holiday season that was like full of lots of people, and your family's not as lots of people and a little more quiet and reserved. So being just kind of mindful of that. And then allowing them an opportunity to check in with you as the night progresses or the day progresses, especially if you're taking them to a home that they haven't been to before and a lot of grown-ups and strangers that they don't know. Just giving them the opportunity to come in and check in, and then maybe a plan B. Like if things get too much, that we're going to have to check out early. And that can be really supportive for a child. And it also could be really supportive for you. Like, let's go home when it's time. So I hope those are kind of like some heads-up ideas. And then there's creating ritual. So if they want to honor their family, maybe offering the opportunity for them to create a ritual of some kind, whether that's hang a stocking or maybe, like I said, write a journal or create an ornament. You know, ornaments work really well. Make an ornament for mom or an ornament for dad or both and hang them on the tree so that their presence is there, right? And then maybe, talk about a special memory at Christmas, and open up the conversation. If the ornament is hanging there, then the conversation can be brought up several times. Like, do you want to go look at the ornament today? And then just give the child the opportunity to continue to stay connected. Because if children are of a certain age developmentally, they may worry and be concerned about their parents and their family and what's happening with their family. So just opening up the conversation that it's okay to talk about, and that you're interested, that you'd really like to know how things were, and they may need some reassurance. does Christmas even happen if I'm not there? So, some kind of ritual seems to work really well. Don't hesitate to do whatever makes the holidays more meaningful and more bearable for you. This should be on the front page of Missoula, right? Seriously. If you're the kind of person that likes to stay super, super busy, or if your little is, then let's do more of that, right? Or if they're the kind of person, or you're the kind of person that likes to just sit down and read a book and be more quiet and introverted, do more of that. So this part, like when I talk about like it's approaching the holidays, with bent knees, and I'm not gonna tell you like I speak. But I heard this once about bent knees. That it will help all family members be able to take on the stress of the holiday in a better way. So just cutting yourself some slack. I tell people in counseling, the 4 main things that you can do to support somebody who's grieving. Food, right? Nutrition, getting some food in our bodies. Hydration, get some water in, right? Sleep, precious sleep, right? And how much if we can get sleep. And then the 4th one is like an umbrella, and it's the most important thing, I think. Well, we need the others because you won't make it. Cutting yourself some slack. And cutting the people around you some slack. That's the number 1 thing that you can do to support yourself or somebody else who's grieving, is just to cut them some slack. So these littles, and you too, may not be able to do 100% of the things that you normally do, right? That as much as this is the mom face at Christmas, right? Odds are, there's a part of her that really likes that feeling, right? So if that's how she wants to be, that's great too. And just being mindful that you can cut yourself some slack, Mom. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And especially in a time that's really stressful, that's the time to cut yourself some slack. And cut Mom slack too. Okay. Self-care. So I think it follows on the next page too. But I'm going to put it in now because I think it's so important and I don't want to not get to it. Self-care is such a very, very, very important thing. And it's so easy to run past it. Yeah. Raise your hand if you haven't heard somebody talk to you about self-care before. Exactly. We've all been talked to about self-care, like how important it is for self-care. Raise your hand if you do self-care regularly. Okay, shall we? You guys are excused. Seriously, even self-care can come in the form of a 5-minute sit in your car. I have a client. We were talking like self-care, and she's like, I don't have time. This is just long face. I don't have time for self-care, Kim. I said, do you have a favorite piece of music that you really, really love? And she thought for a minute, yeah, I do. I said, okay, 5 minutes. Put it on your phone, your iPhone or whatever. And when you are sitting in your car, in transition, listen to that piece of music. That's self-care. Just that little time out for you to fill your soul and your spirit and give you some centering. Like, I'm here and I'm okay. Okay? So even 5 minutes will do the trick. Okay? Self-care for me comes in the form oftentimes, I'm a grief counselor, so I listen to heavy stuff a lot, right? So just some nice deep breaths. Just like, oh, I'm in this body. This is happening to me. Right? Just a nice deep breath. Let's just take one here just for me. I should have started this talk with deep breathing. Especially since I ran to the car back right before I got it. Anyhow, see? How long was our 3 breaths? 30 seconds, something like that. You could do it in the bath. You can. Just run in there, shut the door. All right. So allow yourself. I think I'm on the second page now. Allow yourself to do things differently if it would be easier. So for some people, transition can be really hard. So just doing things different. You can open gifts at a different time than you might have before. You can decorate the tree differently. You can go to somebody else's house, change up things. This is a particular part. They're having giggles really good, aren't they?
They are.
You know, there isn't anything quite as lovely as giggles, and especially when you're not supposed to, right? Right? You can't help it. It just gets worse. And I don't know what I did, but I'm sure it was quite funny.
When you ran into the bathroom.
Oh. I think it's great, honestly. There's nothing quite like laughter, and I don't know, have all of you had that happen, that experience? Yeah, it's a great time, huh? Yeah, so changing like anything that you're doing with Christmas that may be like hurting, like cause a little tenderness and hurt, see if there isn't something, an alternative. And again, this goes back to communication. I had a mom who had, in her home, 3 children. They were all different ages, so we had I think we had a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And she was making a lot of ideas, maybe getting them on base, not quite all the way, but partly getting them on base going around the holidays because she really thought things needed to stay traditional. And how am I going to do it? She was really worried that she wasn't going to be able to do it. And so just said, maybe talk to the kids, see what the kids want. And it turns out the kids didn't want any of that stuff. So it could be that some communication might help iron out, what's important, what's not important, and do it together as a family. And also, I think that also builds some strength. And because Thanksgiving isn't hitting for a week, you have a little time if you're, thinking about what you might change, or if you want to change, or what you might incorporate into Thanksgiving and then into Christmas, might be a good time to just start talking about it. Like, what do you think, guys? This is what I think. What do you think? And just kind of making it an open conversation for adjustment. And this beautiful word that I love so much, inclusion. Take care of yourself. Create space to honor your pain. It's okay to talk with others. And again, this is supporting littles, giving them the opportunity to talk about how things are going. And just doing little check-ins. And if they can't talk about it, just being there and available. And understanding and respect. Find a creative outlet. As you parent children, you guys probably already know that children grieve and experience and process and heal through play. And so offering them the opportunity, again, like to make the Christmas ornaments, or to draw, to create, and to play. Because this is how you'll see them process it. At young ages, before age 10, children really don't have the ability to express these abstract ideas about what's missing and what they're lonely for. And so the better way is to give them the opportunity to play and to talk with them as they play. A child psychologist that I work with, one of the techniques that he uses is to just narrate the child's play. So you're driving the car. I see you're going into the house. I see that you're, right? And then this helps the child to hear the reflection of their play. And you'd be surprised at the things that come out sometimes. It just gives them a chance to express themselves. And I'm sure you've already noticed this with children. They might get really, really emotional 1 second, and then 2 seconds later, goofing off in the other room having a really good time. So being prepared for, some more rapid mood shifting and maybe higher highs and lower lows. And so during this time, better for the children, for you to stay as stable as you possibly can, knees bent, like, okay, now we're having this and now we're having that, and giving them the opportunity to have some flexibility around them as they come into stressful times. Let go of pleasing everyone else. This one, I think, why don't we put this one like in just let go of pleasing everyone else on the front of the page of the paper, just those words, right? That it's more important that we're fulfilling our needs and our desires of our family. What's important to us, not what the neighbors think should happen or the other people outside of our family. What is best for us as we approach life? Okay. Recognize that the greatest joy may come in doing something for someone else. That's you guys. You're already doing something for someone else. And such an absolutely beautiful, beautiful, and wonderful gift that you are giving children in our community. It's truly amazing. I marvel at your dedication and your willingness to take care of kids and open your homes. It's just truly amazing. And so, owning that and what you're doing to model to the rest of us is just amazing too. And then the paper suggests, like, baking cookies for the neighbors or going and doing something, maybe the family all go outside and shovel the snow for the neighbor people or whatever. Doing something together as a family in the service of other people is another way to gain some support. Okay? That's the last point. I invite you now to give me any thoughts or ideas back, or maybe something that's worked at your house that has been really successful for those of you that have had kids in your house for a while. Anybody have something they'd like to share here? Yes.
We have a 17-year-old almost, or just turned 17, and we've had him about a year and a half. Last year during the holidays was a very, very, very tough time for him, and he really closed up. And we asked, what did your family do for Thanksgiving, and what did your family do for Christmas? And he'd say, oh, I don't know. Well, a couple days ago, I told him that we're going to go shopping for Thanksgiving dinner. So is there anything that you want for Thanksgiving dinner that we don't normally provide? Because he'd been to one Thanksgiving. And he said, well, my family always did devil's eggs.
Oh.
And I said, oh, cool, you can make those then, right? And then he said that his family always had celery sticks, with this cream cheese in it. So I told him we'll buy it and you can make it. So he's going to help us with dinner this year. Last year he wouldn't have any part of Thanksgiving, no part of Christmas. He just kind of came downstairs, ate, and went back to his room. And, we had our other sons with us. And so it was a really difficult time for him. But I see that he finally broke through and said something. Because we don't do devil's eggs for Christmas. I mean, maybe Easter, but not Christmas.
Yeah, right. So just being able, and a real testament to what you've done in your home, which is create that trust, that relationship, so that he feels this year like he can say it, right? Mm-hmm. And that you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. I bet that he figured you'd do whatever you said, whatever he asked, and you did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I mean, who wouldn't be surprised and really excited to have a 17-year-old boy helping in the kitchen, right? Yeah. That's like 2 bonuses for you and your family. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a wonderful, and that it might take some time. That's also what I'm hearing.
Definitely. Yeah, and he's still not very, doesn't speak a lot, he doesn't communicate much, but he's getting better with communicating. But I was a little surprised when I asked him, and then he told me, he says, because it's usually, well, I don't know, I don't remember, that kind of thing. So
thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, a few messages of that. Yeah. Others? Yes.
One thing that really stuck out for me was that making sure that the kids can have that opportunity to just hear that their other family is okay.
Yes.
Really, 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 really was something so little that could be done for our little guys last year.
Yes.
Just knowing that they were able to have fun and be a part of the family. They were excited for the holidays with us too, but just having their mom be able to say, you know, I'm having a good day, or them seeing, because we do FaceTime for the kids, and yeah, that was definitely meaningful.
Yeah, so they
And
might
letting them have an envelope to make stuff for that part of the family, if they're just like no connection at all, you could still mail it to them.
Right. So even if they can't express it, like, hey, I wonder how
They
everybody's
still
doing.
want to get stuff.
They are
for
wondering
them.
how everybody's
Yeah,
doing,
or make
and they
it
still want to
them.
exchange.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's great. Just FaceTime or some assurance. So that did work at your house. Thank you. Yeah. Other ideas anybody has to share or questions that anyone might have? Yes.
Something I just realized, so we're taking care of our niece and from my niece and nephew, and they were living with us last year, but they were with their parents. So
Okay.
all of them were living with us, and now their parents are not, they're in town, but they're not living with us anymore, and it's just the kids.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how they're gonna react this year, not having their parents with us as
Right.
we decorate for Christmas and go through the holiday without them being there.
Yeah. How old are they?
6 and 4.
6 and 4. So, and it's going to happen that mom and dad aren't going to be there.
It's been kind of up and down, so I mean,
Want
I
to prepare for both?
prepare for both. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a relationship with my brother, and you know, it's one week one shows up, the next week the other one shows up, and the other one
So
is there.
maybe,
So it's like an
Yeah.
on and off thing.
and not that, yeah, I probably cried a little bit too much there, but I guess I was just thinking that if it's going to be something new, it might be a time to go ahead and establish what is new. It may be that you could do a combination of what you did last year and then something new also, so that there's a change of some sort besides just the absence of the parents. So, you know, something like that, like a hybrid. I like to think of things like, you know, how in society we're taught, you know, black, white, happy, sad, right? And in counseling and when working with people, I find myself ever more trying to take these dialectical thoughts and bringing them as close together as we can. So that's why I'm thinking like something new and something that's been done in the past to help have both. Maybe a dose of each will minimize the change. Does that sound helpful? Does anybody else have other ideas around that? Yeah.
Every year in my house, we do an arts and craft. I can know this, I'm willing. But it's for the calendar December. We just go to dollar store and buy a whole bunch of stuff. You do pictures, Santa Claus, and you go from 1 to Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And then every night before the children go to bed, it could be pictures of parents, whoever.
Right?
And every time before they go to bed, they glue a cotton ball on the end of that day. And it gets them excited, but they're also aware because kids need to know. I know that kids need to know what's going on. And then it goes from 1 until Christmas Eve. And it gets them excited, gets them going. They know when it's coming.
Yeah.
And then they have the pictures or whatever you want to put on your little,
On the whole calendar.
yeah, the one that you make just for, it could be big, small, whatever's going on. And that's what we do every year at our house.
Great.
And it works really good.
Yeah, and it's fresh every year. So it's kind of something new, right? It's tradition, but it's something new that whoever's in the house that year creates. Am I on to you now?
Yes.
Okay. That's a great idea. Other ideas anybody might have? Or we can move on. Any other comments? Yes.
We went out and picked out ornaments at Michael's. They're actually really cheap and you can paint them. So we had the kids paint them for their parents for their Christmas tree.
Oh, great. All right. So it's sort of a gift exchange. Yeah. So that they had something for them. Great. That's a great idea. And that's not too big of an expensive idea.
Or doing the salto ornaments. That's what I do every year, and the kids all make them, and I say, what adults do you want to have get gifts? And it's something from the child that they made, and it, like the moms or grandmas keep that. That's what I call it. And it's for the moms and grandmas, you know.
Right.
So we just come up with a list, and they all get to make. And it's, you know, what better than something they made.
Okay.
And then they're proud of themselves too. I did that. So.
Right. Yeah.
And it's every year.
Every year. Right. So these traditions that are easy to pick up, but then can include new people easily, which we want. Yeah. Other ideas? You guys have been really a friendly group. I appreciate it. I was lecturing this morning to some undergrads who are in intimate relationships. And I didn't have all of my words. There were several words that I couldn't pronunciate. I would just sit on the table and it slid back and I was like, ah! And they thought it was kind of funny. We meet twice weekly and this morning was not my most best time. I don't know why I had lost my words, but I will tell you, at 9:30 this morning, I was panicking about what tonight would look like. If at 9:30 this morning I didn't have all my words or my balance, so I'm glad that I didn't trip, which I still could. And thank you so much for your listening ears. And as I was talking, I saw so many of you nod your head, and that's so encouraging to me. Helps me know that I'm on the right track. And I'm so glad I got to be here again. So somewhere in the building, you know, is Laura, and Laura also has evaluations. But I'd like for you guys to.
Janelle's going to grab her.
She's going to grab her. And see, I think I'm like 5 minutes early. So there you go. Yes.
So do you have any more ideas for teenagers, not young kids, but
Teenagers?
for teenagers? Yeah.
You know, teens, we like to talk about teens a lot because they're fun, right? In a funny way. Teens are funny, right? They're just funny, yeah. They're funny. So, thinking about teens, what I have found best with teens is really to spend more time, and you've probably already discovered this, shoulder to shoulder, doing things together rather than face to face, because this just gets kind of intimidating to a teenager. And grown-ups too, because if we talk to them too long, they're going to make us feel stupid. Right?
Laura's getting pens, but I'm going to pass them out.
So, for teens, I think the best thing is really just, again, having that side-to-side time and then allowing them to be spontaneous about what they'd like to happen. I think when you talked about like asking a 17-year-old or 16-year-old boy at the time, like what would you guys do for Christmas? I would be willing to bet that if we went down the hill to Sentinel High School and asked an 18-year-old or 16-year-old girls and boys, but boys in particular, what does your family do at Christmas? You'd probably get that same answer. Because they don't know. You know, they play their video games or they're doing their homework or they're cruising or whatever, and they show up and there's a meal in front of them and they eat it, and then they go back to whatever it was that they were doing. So I think that's kind of just part of the experience of a teenager, that they're not as much connected to what's really happening in the family as they are to everything else, and that's like their stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
So is that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, if we were in a traditional family where every family member was present, again, the 16-year-old boy or girl probably would be able to tell you what they want. They would tell you what they don't want, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's helpful, really.
I'm just trying to have a better holiday with them
Yeah.
than I did last year.
I think you know what
Isolated last year.
just by the way that you told the story tells me that he's already going to have a better holiday. That trust and that relationship has been built to the extent where he really feels like he can contribute his thoughts and that they're respected and accepted. And I think that's probably already going to happen.
While you guys are finishing those and so I will have maybe two people in the front here. Just pick a name. I'll let you name it. Do you want to pick a name for me? So for those of you who are new, every time we do a door prize, about our 3 door prizes. So John and Patty Easton. Yay! And this is that gas gift card. I'm traveling, you can use that, right? Okay, and Tammy, do you want to pick one for me? Bill and Dawn McCormick.
Yeah, wow.
So this is a gift card to Rosar's, and you can buy a whole turkey dinner at Rosar's. Did you know that?
Wow.
Thank you. And then we've got this great little gift thanks basket, which one of our volunteers put together. And